And as you can see, that the problem here, according to the family counselor, is Don and Barb trying to interject with a co-guardianship, because they were never co-guardians, which is again, that has caused even confusion with her. If my daughter's living with me, it's not valid. But that's beside the point. I'm also living in another county. And again, we have former guardian ad litem that was in the case. Again, we have the counselor telling them to shut down the interjection of these people who are not related to my daughter at all, but were hired, we now know, by the birth father's family and probably the intelligence agencies, or maybe a contracted business that was involved with the intelligence agencies, trying to steal my daughter. And that's all this was. It was just to interfere with custody, to make sure I didn't get any child support. And of course, we also know from previous videos that Thomas Aaron Clark was used as an informant by the Secret Service in past cases, which had nothing to do with me that I'm aware of. Not directly anyway. And but we're going to show that Linda Hanley Thomas has also been involved with Trump. And we have evidence of the Trump family covering up kidnapping, probate fraud, and now, since I'm being denied medical care on purpose and ordered to be murdered, essentially, of course I'm still alive, so it's attempted murder at this point, but we're going to show that Trump is involved. I don't know when Trump became involved. He could have been involved when he was in office, before or after. And here we have it. We have Mark Randall Trump, Linda Trump, and Joseph Raymond Trump. And again, we already know from past records that Mr. Clark was abusing his informant status, that he was also used by the Laconia Police Department to racketeer cases, and that he was actually in cahoots with the Taylor family, which would be Don Taylor Nilrim. And you have it right there. So Trump is covering up kidnapping, and actually a case of child trafficking. He's also now complicit in child support fraud, and the reason why he ends up being complicit is because, once again, Thomas Clark, being a Secret Service informant, and it says it right here in the affidavit, none of this was outright disclosed in any of the cases in California. And so it makes it exculpatory if this man tried to place anybody in jail for falsified the evidence before. It's exculpatory evidence in a lot of matters. So we have that. And his property upon 30 Cherry Street, which at the time when I knew him was just a house. It's now an apartment complex. So if he doesn't want to pay his child support, he probably didn't report the income from that place. And so that they're probably involved in this, the real estate or the management company. So we have the President of the United States covering up child support fraud. And that same property person who owned the property on 30 Cherry Street is to engage once again in abusing his status and committing psychological operation tactics against me just for revenge and to avoid child support and steal probate. Here you go again. This is an actual legitimate case. We can go a little bit further on this video that I already have up. That Mr. Clark posted on Craigslist a bioterrorist threat at New Hampshire Technical Institute. And he had threatened to give me, or alluded to, giving me the needle. And if you watch the rest of this video, he also declared war, which is an act of treason. And here we go again. This is another order several years after the fact, once again manipulated by Thomas and his brother Paul, Edward Clark, and probably Diana Lunar and a few other people, trying to actually throw me in a mental institute at the age of 43 when I have no history of being IEA'd. Of course, it's been dismissed and been found unfounded, but this is during the time that witnesses in the Russian collusion event could be called forth in a possible impeachment trial. So as we can see, the link with Trump in this case, again, we have witness tampering now and intimidation, as well as child support fraud, probate fraud, twice. And I do say in this video that other people may have been kidnapped with these fake orders, right? Because most of the law for this was actually repealed. And by the way, technically there's many people by the name of Crystal in the state of Kansas and surrounding states. There's probably about 100 of them. So this is a very fraudulent order. It is ridiculous. So once again, I don't even know the petitioner girl. They even put a wrong address for me. But what's interesting is that this was a week or two before the alleged COVID-19 outbreak. We'll go back. Well, I can leave a link up to this video. But these are legitimate court cases. And this right here, this is also about Mr. Clark and his behavior dragging me in the last minute into a terrorism investigation, and how they were funneling money through the refugee program and then harassed us to have him report them because they didn't fit Mr. Thomas Clark's narrative. And of course, those finances were tracked by us through the banks. And this is an old email that I had sent to Hitta regarding an online threat that I had observed. I was not the owner of the channel that had received the threat directly on her page. And what happened was Mr. Clark, once again, had to screw things up and come onto the channel and give out personal information, which caused me to panic. And yes, I did panic, and anybody would panic because you're dealing with very dangerous people. And so Mr. Clark caused a lot of problems. And then we have here also emails sent on some of these channels to American Embassy in Kabul. This is mostly the way that the FBI had set up any international transfers. A lot of times they shared it with the embassy, and so what happened was somehow it ended up with members of the military. It's no fault of my own. In this particular channel, Alja, his real name was Ahmad. I do believe he lived in New Jersey. He had multiple accounts. And of course, he was threatening to train and make IEDs. And this is before Boston happened. And again, we were prejudiced and literally thrown pretty much out of California by Newsom. So you're not allowed to report terror threats and making up IEDs. And of course, when they moved in the refugees there after the fact, it really did scare the crap out of us. So it's a bit complicated, but yes, there was some Russian collusion, but we had the Moscow Treaty in place. And what had happened is that some of the members that were sharing the subscription channels had also boasted of causing bombings in Moscow. And so, yes, foreign offices with in Russia with the FBI were indeed contacted. Again, we did nothing wrong, and we're being ordered. I may have been injured through an indirect means, and at this point, it's life-threatening. I'm being ordered to die, essentially, and being denied medical treatment on purpose. And what may have happened is I may have been infected by a parasite deliberately on purpose, possibly arranged by these people and by Thomas Clark. Also the people who were in that guardianship, which is why I left New Hampshire and tried to do what I could to get away from these people. I did not have everything, all the information even then, but Robert and Don Nilram knew the Boston Marathon bombers. And of course, I was trying for years to get my kid away from these people so they get away with stealing my kid. They drugged her and tortured her. This is what the United States has become. And a lot of people would not understand my situation because to them they feel like, oh, well, we're free. Well, let me tell you something. If I try to get an education or go to college, his family sabotage it continually. I have no rights in the United States simply because I was with a man for 3 or 4 months who got away with raping me. And worse, it may have involved both the adoptive and biological families who hate our family and want to genocide us. This is other anomalies that show up. I get people impersonating relatives, posting child pornography to harass me. We get witness tampering, attempted murders by the police department on our family. You have people lying. In this case here, you have celebrities involved in setting up sexual batteries and assault. This is not the first time that this has happened. And one other time, Mr. Clark set me up with a producer to have me drugged and raped. well, I wouldn't say raped, but sexually assaulted, manipulated. Again, I wouldn't say outright force, but it was because I wasn't able to consent because of what I had been given. So this was all arranged by them. He hired a woman named Tony Bashaw to dye hair blonde and pose as a prostitute online to make me look bad. These are the things that these people are doing to people. If they can do this to one person, then they can do this to all of you. And again, here we have probate fraud. All they have to do is lie, file expate orders. We also have fake obituaries on people who have multiple identities. And of course, I had already pointed out in this video that was Lisa DeVoe. I went to high school with Lisa DeVoe. And this here too, we even have, hold on, just briefly, the guardian ad litem was suspended to practice law while she did this. Yeah, when it comes to me, there's no enforcement of the law. She was also not a guardian ad litem when she claimed to be a guardian ad litem. She's also had Hagues filed on her in the past. And here we have here, that when I lived in New Hampshire, I actually lived in a different county than Merrimack. So this whole guardianship thing was actually really me fighting something that was completely invalid. I was also blacklisted from ever being able to hire an attorney. And it was all based on the lies of this person named Thomas Aaron Clark, who's also related to the Brodericks, a former staff member of the United States District Court. I think he was a prosecuting attorney. So we have them racketeering cases, making up stuff, whether it is to manipulate the media or other parties, and or to traumatize people that refuse to marry into their family. But Mr. Clark also stated that he was going to make sure I never marry. So that's actually an act of genocide. You have fake social security numbers being used. Also, when both parents are alive, they're using a guardianship permanently, which means it's not valid because the parents are alive. A guardianship isn't to replace custody. This is exactly what these people were doing. Using a guardianship to override parental custody because the birth father is just so important. And Crystal is poor garbage and trash. And the demon spawn of her birth mother, Karine Davison, that she has zero rights at all. So now, not only have I been twice separated by the family, my original family, but also my daughter. And part of the reason is because of the resentment on that side of the family. They are related to Stephen King. I guess they handle some of his affairs. And they just hate my mom. And I don't know her. You can see 2 different social security numbers used for her there, for my daughter. And here we have the DeVitos. This is important because the DeVitos knew the Snareps. And this is the first guardian ad litem, and she was just as biased too. Eventually she did have no choice but to close it out. So they got rid of her. And then I moved. And then they put in that Bain woman who has had multiple complaints, stealing from clients. Like I said, suspended to practice law. She was not a guardian ad litem. She was even suspended from the guardian ad litem board. But the minute I complained to the professional conduct committee, all covered up. All covered up. Every anomaly you can think of. Misspelling of a name here. It's actually supposed to be Nilram. And it's not even his real name, by the way. So you can have a, so now you can get a fake, you can fake your death, fake your identity multiple times, steal children, send terrorist cells after them, falsify evidence, refuse child support, also extort over custody, threaten to murder members of the family, avoid your child support because your family are judges and lawyers, interfere. Here we go, right here, Catherine Russell. We'll take a look at this. And go a little bit further. There you go. Right there, Patricia A. DeVito, Pasquale John DeVito. So there you go. Evidence right there that the guardian ad litems were linked to the Boston Marathon bombers. And if you read a little bit more in the article, you'll find that this was also linked to a Human Rights Commission complaint that I filed, which had a pending immigration matter, both involving Canada and the United States, as well as Britain. And what had happened is Kenton Giuliano was the son of the investigator in my case. It was originally filed against Scott Fetzer Company in New Hampshire under DeRose and Associates. So this is pending in the backdrop. And Mr. Clark sets up Kenton Giuliano for arson, then testifies against him, and his past record of being an informant for the Secret Service was never disclosed in that case. Now, he was up in Laconia. I was quite a ways away in another county, so I did not know about any of this stuff because not the Guardian ad litem, but the Human Rights Commission, Roxanne Giuliano, never notified me that one of the people I had filed the Human Rights Commission complaint with was an illegal immigrant hired by Warren Buffett. So you also have an obstruction by ICE, by a former Secret Service informant. This is really screwed up. And we'll even show you, when I was pending the Burnley case and the other parties involved after it was arranged to have me sexually assaulted. They also arranged where I lived out here. So basically we have attempted murder. Also, repetitively. And you can see here that he's now changed his name to Thomas Arthur Clark. And my name's on here too, Paul Clark. And what this is showing is that Mr. Clark is an in-law to Brett Kavanaugh, who was confirmed to the United States Supreme Court while pending my case in order to shut down my case and aid and abet, at this point, genocide. kidnapping, child support fraud, and every crime you can probably think of with these people. And since I don't have a right to have an attorney anymore in this so-called free country, I don't have a right to go to work either, by the way. That gets interrupted. That gets sabotaged by these people. But as you can see, the Riles are related also to Kavanaugh as well. Hollywood Clark. So we can see that the Clark family has so much ties to this. Oh, we got Thomas Alden Ryle. And by the way, the Alden's a real, it's a real old name. It's a Mayflower name. In fact, I actually traced back to the Aldens at some point. But they're part of the Mayflower Society. I know David Alden is also a member of the OTO, involved with John Paul Paroli. So you get the Ogles involved. And we can even show that the attorney that they claim that represented me is actually appointed by them, by themselves. Still dismissed. But clearly they're threatened that they'll commit me if I continue to advocate my case. Well, I'm not going to save their skin. Because at this point, the whole United States government, in my eyes, is a criminal organization. A law unto themselves, full of nepotism, and we can show these related to Jip Clark, who also was in the other case. So it just shows you nepotism. So this is the real United States. And now, they even got Mayo Clinic to cover up my parasitic infection, deliberately on purpose. And now, we have residents in my area turning up with the same infection. So now they just keep getting themselves in deeper in some ways, but at the same time, people need to know that I am being murdered and my family is being essentially genocided by the United States of America, Canada, and the United Kingdom for the crime of being the demon spawn of Corrine Ellen Davison, a woman who only gave birth to me and didn't know me, and I don't know her. Now, I knew my grandmother, and she was a wonderful lady. This is the sweetest, kindest woman you'd ever meet. Happy, and she didn't deserve what they did to her. They stole all of her kids' trust accounts, probably by at this point. They stole us, put us in, obviously, it's pretty obvious, in government contracted families. And it's quite obvious that they are again doing the same thing to the great-grandchildren. And so that would make it, by forced displacement, genocide. And we can see here, I don't know, it's a small letter. And that letter, of course, is Thomas extorting me over my daughter. We even had to get Interpol involved slightly into this matter. And they're involved of even covering it up. So this is the real United States. They can do this to me. They can do this to everyone. So at this point, you are not a free country. You're being lied to, and you don't have any rights according to these uppity, stuck-up, rich scum. And I'm not saying all rich people are scum. I'm saying that these people are stuck-up, rich scum who think that they are better than everybody else simply because they can wave around their money. They can take their money and shove it up their fucking ass. I hope they choke on it and die. And I hope they burn in hell, if there is a hell, rolling in the flames of their cheap paper money. These people are absolutely disgusting. And it does not matter what party you put in. And I probably would have advocated more for Trump if he had done what was right in this situation, but he didn't do that. They interfered with a contract. I'm not even allowed to have a music contract or any life at all from these people. If I try to have a relationship with someone, these people are there to interrupt it and to make sure that I never marry. This is genocide. And you can make up all the excuses you can. You can try to say, all of us are mentally ill. 6 children, 7 children are all mentally ill when they have different fathers. Now, I know my birth mom is not the model mom, and certainly she played a role in messing this up too. But I am being basically charged for the sins of my birth mother. And it gets even crazier than that. The reason for it is because I'm a witch. That's right, my birth mother was a witch, so I'm a witch. And I'm not even really a witch. But even if I were, I have First Amendment rights. You don't have that right. They even involve Bethel Church in Reading, who apparently thinks that they run the whole city, and helping to traffic my daughter to these people. And I'm sure that they were probably lied to just like anyone else. But they are now participants in a terrorism case, all on behalf of probate fraud, child trafficking, because the birth father couldn't stand. That's right. I actually, despite even the temporary guardianship in place, won full legal and physical custody. And so the only thing that they could do was kept refiling the guardianships over and over again and subjecting me to disparate treatment and denying me proper child support payment. So now we can see that Mr. Clark was obviously used for some kind of psychological operation and owns property on 30 Cherry Street with a management company. And the COVID-19 nonsense also is a part of that, among other things. So if you're a business, I would suggest you sue him and his family, along with the Secret Service, the National Security Agency, and oh yes, the Temple of Set too. You might as well add them on there, along with the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan. All of these are simply psychological operations. And to be honest, they shouldn't even been involved in it. But we'll show you where his property is in New Hampshire. And I'm pretty sure his probably other family members own it too. Hold on a minute. I think it's called Hollis Commons. Yeah, there's this property. Yep, that's right. You should sue the crap out of this property because the owners declared war on the U.S. The only problem is that the U.S. government, by and of itself, is actually fighting itself. I mean, it's pretty clear that Mr. Clark is obviously a disinfo agent, but that's beside the point. But to abuse that on the mother of his children is disgusting. And he did it to Sabrina Moran, supposedly. But then again, Miss Sabrina Moran also stole my purse and stole my child support card. And she also aided and abetted child trafficking, kidnapping, probate fraud, and child support fraud, and interfering with anything else, too. So she's not good, either any good on the list either. So I'm going to put it right out there. This family needs all their property, businesses, and sued for the COVID-19 mess. Now, I'm not saying that they gave me COVID-19 when they kidnapped me, but it is suspect, especially when you have all this surrounding information going on. And, by the way, if I was inducted into a psychological operation ring, I certainly wasn't contracted or paid or compensated for any of my work, which means that that is peonage and slave labor. So the Secret Service is involved in slave labor. And now we have ties to the Epstein scandal. And of course, you didn't think that Ghislaine Maxwell ended up in Bradford, New Hampshire, all by her lonesome self. Of course, we know that Andrew Pernard, who also went to Pembroke Academy, is related to Thomas as well, who lives up in Bradford. Edward Imhoff lived up in Bradford, and he's also supposedly a contracted Santa Claus for a bunch of the celebrities out in Hollywood and other places. So you can see the relationship there. And of course, Edward Imhoff is a relative to Karl Imhoff, the inventor of the Imhoff tank and the former head of the American Nazi Party way back in 1933. So you have a lot of problems in the United States because, well, I'll put it this way. This world's a piece of shit. Anyway, so you know what? You can keep this world. Don't really want it that much. And no, I'm not converting to Satanism. Satanism is reverse psychology, in my opinion, and it's just a ridiculous joke. But it's not really a joke. It's more forcing religious ideas on me that I don't want. And that doesn't belong in legislature. It does not belong in the judiciary. It does not belong in any of the executive branches. And so this is a forced situation. You don't have a right to force anything on me, any religion on me. And by the way, the Satanic cults are actually an extension of AMORC, the Rosicrucian orders. And they have I guess, a dualistic philosophy. So it really should be AMORC that should be sued. Yep. But that's another mess right there. But basically, Mr. Clark owes me child support. Is pissed that he didn't win his custody battle. So he had to go crying to mommy and daddy and his uncle, who served on a board somewhere and had some clout. So he had to go whine, moan, and cry because he's a spoiled, fat, rich kid who didn't get his own way. So therefore, he decided to cause a terrorist attack indirectly. And here I am begging the FBI to arrest those boys. And they did nothing. Mr. Fallon, when I called him, he did nothing. And they were even threatening his daughter. How would you feel? How would you feel if you did everything that you could to try to prevent that day? And it was a while ago. and you get murdered by the United States government for reporting them. They sell your daughter to people that had contacts and committed to Boston Marathon terrorist attacks. And they're not held accountable. They can walk away free and not be held accountable. They can even go online and make up law records against a family so that they can steal our children over and over again. And you sit there and say it's a free country. Who the fuck are these people? Look at this. Neighbor down the street. Because they shut down my case. And you know something? What's even more pathetic? This Blue Cross and Blue Shield is involved in this too. So my own fucking family involvement in this. That's how much they suck. All because they didn't want to file my grandmother's will, and all because Thomas didn't want to pay his fucking child support. Yep, that's right. You see that on her? That she had to go and get ulcers removed right down the street. And this is the video showing leakage into the water supply. And of course, my dad got displaced through the VA list. And so this was partly arranged. And you'll find out that the Weems knew Lars Ulrich. So if you can tell me how they're not involved. There she is. A kidnapper. A child trafficker running around at large. Yep, that's right. She's free to do whatever she wants. She's above the law in every way. Like a diplomat. She must be like what? The diplomat of the world? I guess she must work for the United Nations. Who the fuck does she work for? And she keeps changing her name around anyway. You go, this is what they did to me. This is what they did to me. So they didn't want it to look. They wanted to look like natural causes. But it didn't work. And they probably expected me to die on the infection. See, I went to Grace Medical. And they pulled my teeth out. And that was arranged too. I can't go anywhere without any of this being arranged. I can't even get treatment for a kidney disorder that I was born with. And my family ran Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Not even allowed to get treatment for anything. And if I try to get insurance, I'm blocked for that. That, you see, is murder. They should be in jail. But, you know, justice is 100% dead. And this new America, oh wait, it's been here for a while. Yep, this is your America. Your America that you say is so free. Sure, I can go down the street and I can walk around, but here we go. There's that nice little letter. That's right. I have to confess to sexual abuse to my child or they'll kill her. And actually, the other boy that they took suddenly turned up dead in a river. So maybe they killed him for a life insurance policy. How am I supposed to know? These people are sick people, demented people, and no, I never sexually abused my daughter, and my daughter has never accused me of that either. This is extortion because he didn't get his way. So he had to lie in multiple states. This guy here, Ben Fitzgerald, assisted in kidnapping my daughter. A foreign agent from Australia showed up in Bethel Church and accused me of being a witch. And what's funny is now he's being accused of being a witch. How's it feel, Ben? Oh, and you messed up my car too. Or your friends over at Bethel. Yeah, you tampered with my vehicle. I had to emergency weld it. Otherwise, I would have died of carbon monoxide poison. So, yep, Bethel Church participated in attempted murder. Here's the boy in the that they other took in another case. And oh yes, throwing pen on this, we have Chris Cornell dying. Of course, Vicky Cornell knew my brother Derek Marshall. Yeah, this is what they do to you. The guy is Kevin DeCase. I've never met the guy, but he's the guy, the attorney. He's also a public official who handles the insurance for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And my aunt is Annette Case out of New Hampshire. And he represented the people that assaulted me. Yep, so my own family who adopted me. What a nice, loving family. Look at this. She doesn't even know my name. And we get the Fishers in there. And of course, Heather Fisher had a child with my brother Derek. She's had multiple names too. I think she uses Cabri now when I knew it was Worthington. And so I didn't know she was related to William Fisher, who is also in my Human Rights Commission complaint. Look at that, it made my hair fall out. Oh, look at this. I went to the U.S. Supreme Court. Yep. That's right. And when I appealed for a petition of writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court, it says it right there that they received it. The U.S., they shut down my case, installed Brett Kavanaugh, and then the lower court lied about ex parte communication in order to deprive me of all of my rights, and have essentially ordered me to be murdered when I have never been charged with any crime. This is your U.S. Supreme Court. All of them should be impeached at this point, not just Brett Kavanaugh. This is rigging the United States Supreme Court with their own family members to deprive others who didn't want to marry in their shitty ass stuck up family their rights. And of course the U.S. Supreme Court, why they did ex parte communications beyond me, because they can actually turn away a case, on their own discretion, which in my opinion kind of negates the whole United States Constitution in the first place. It's like saying, well, you made it all the way to the top of the appeal and your civil rights have been denied, but we don't want to hear it now. We don't feel like it. We've decided not to take this case. So tough shit. You don't have any civil rights. Well, wait a minute. Doesn't the Constitution say I have them? We can thank the legislature for that one. But, yep, they tried to say that I never appealed to the United States Supreme Court. Did ex parte communication. Here we go again. Look at all the harassment I have to put up with. Pornography. And this girl here participated along with the girl Amanda assaulting me. Re-injured my back. And apparently I had worm cysts on my back and they went in my leg. So I'm being ordered to be murdered. This is coordinated. And this is the When I called about the sewer line in the area, this is the area that they fixed up, but it wasn't the only area. I have no idea how long it was, too. Well, you can see this is where we live. And you can see that Ronald Weems of Rankin Enterprises is there. So you can see that how some of this all kind of fits in. Sully Erna was also stalking me as well. And the Lance E. Schumann in the corner here, apparently he knew my next door neighbor who lied and said she was the long lost sibling of me, which she wasn't. I'm not saying, I think her original name was Varley, or Sheets, wasn't even Marshall. And even if it was, it's a common name, so she might have taken advantage of a coincidence. Can we have the DeVitos on there? And of course, I've already shown that the DeVitos knew the Boston Marathon bombers. These are all the license plates that were parked at Marconi. We even had our mail stolen. They never even lived at this address by these refugees, which is why, of course, we filed complaints. We even filed securities complaints. Ignored. Completely ignored. Yep, that's right. So I want to show you about Weems. Go to the FTC. They don't do anything. Yep. Look at that. If that isn't messed up, then I don't know what is. So, if you happen to be online in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you happen to witness someone making a terror threat, I guess that makes you the terrorist now, according to these people. And this girl was impersonating my daughter. I caught her doing it. And this girl doesn't exist, by the way. It's a fake name. So you have all kinds of anomalies. It's like these people are literally like God. And even the Satanic Temple borrowed a name from one of my biological relatives. I told them to stop doing that. Doesn't matter where these people, it's, oh, look right there. There you go. And his full name actually is really Lucian, but he prefers Luke. I don't know him. Alright, so we'll close that. We'll show you something about the landlord. And I have other documents about open in-laws all working. You'll see what I mean. He lives out in San Francisco. I'm not doing this to pry on him, but I'm going to show you something very interesting. And that should be the proper one. Oh, whoops. Try to make it quick so, you know. Hold on a minute. Alright. We're not really interested in where he lives, per se. What we're interested in is some people on his list, because they're on there, so we know we got the right guy. Mary Lillian Weems. Look at that, the Weems are on there. That's pretty interesting. So there you go. My landlord, his family, was Lars Ulrich. Now that is strange, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Do you? Because I don't. So this is what they do. They pick people for psychological operations and don't pay them. And since Mr. Clark is related to Jib Clark, who also runs contracting businesses with bands, pretty much, if you don't get along with his family, you don't have any rights. That's right. You don't have any rights for anything. You're not allowed to go to music school. They just suppress you. Then you're not allowed to marry or date anyone. They steal your kids. And I know a lot of people will say, well, they must be involved in other stuff. They probably are, but I'm not gonna get into detail about that right now. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Don's sister is related to Sully Erner. Sully Erner was stalking me for a while too. I don't think he's doing that anymore because he's married, he has a family, but he did at one time do that. And yep, you have people like Lars Ulrich running around saying injustice for all when it's a bunch of bullshit. So you want to know why I'm difficult? It's because my whole life has been difficult. I've had people try to kidnap me because he put some bitch online that looked like me to run around and look like an escort. So I look like a prostitute. Oh, yes. I've never been a prostitute. All right. And even if I had been, it's none of his business. All right. But that's beside the point. You know, it's like him saying I'm a crack whore too, when I've never had a crack addiction in my life either. And of course, if I was an art teacher at Keystone Hall in Nashua, which I was briefly, then that automatically makes me a crack whore right there, you know. And all it is he just doesn't want to pay fucking child support. And he doesn't want, also, I guess he wants to interfere in the will of my grandmother, and probably a few other people do too. So they have to make everything a frickin' mess. Yep. And please, I don't think that Lars Ulrich is a terrorist. I don't think that's what went on here, but obviously, it's extremely one-sided. Remember, injustice for all is only for them and Mr. Clark and his family. So you're dealing with a stacked deck at the U.S. Supreme Court. So what's the point of me even bothering to appeal? Well, I'm going to appeal. I'm going to reopen the case, I think. And I know I don't have a chance in hell in winning. But you know something? It'll go on fucking record. It'll go on record for everything that you ever did to me. And everything that you ever denied. So when you turn away my case, everybody will see what a piece of shit your United States Supreme Court is. So good luck. Because now, because you blocked medical treatment for this, there was a leakage in the sewer that may have gotten in the main line, and now other residents are getting sick. So I hope, yep, and that includes my adoptive family too, that they get sued by my entire neighborhood and all the businesses, as well as for the COVID-19 mess. Yep, we're going to make sure there's a record of it. And you know what? If I die in the process, I'd rather die spitting in your face for what you did to me and my family. And yes, my own family probably had some role in doing it to themselves. But honestly, my grandmother did not deserve this at all. And now I'm hearing they did it to Erin Barker, but hey, it was her that introduced me to Sully, but this is just the stuff where people pretending to be my half brother Kim, and this guy is not my half brother. It's insane. Mr. Robert Lemieux. I want to know what else we want to look at here. If you don't think that the sewer is leaking, take a look at that. You can see toilet paper right in the pond, right by the elementary school where the main line is. It runs right near it. Yeah, that's right. And urban coyote territory on top of it too, and they do carry a worm. But this here looks like a what do you call it? A blood fluke, and it's only found in Asia. Oh, here we go. This is an old article from 1933 that talks about not only Ogle. I guess Ogle was a reporter at the time, probably related to Diana Ogle, and the McMahon family, and also mentions Karl Imhoff. Yep. I don't have any evidence of anything. I'm just kidding. I get so much, people would be busy for years. Oh, we have, this woman's supposed to be in her 60s and supposed to be as the adoptive mother of my daughter, but then you find other anomalies. So we have probably people pretending again to be my siblings. Look at this. 72 years old. Does she look 72 to you in this photo? It's a fake profile. Oh, yes, and Michael Aquino suddenly dies after stalking me on Twitter. All right, whatever. I'm sure he's dead. Probably not, considering that there's no obituary for him anywhere. Oh, it gets even weirder. Yep, that's right. The judge that trafficked my daughter to Don and Bob on behalf of Mr. Clark has a nephew named Blake David Hampy, who is a member of Antifa and did attempted murder on a black man up in Portland, Oregon. Here we go again. These people just are nonstop. And we have here, and regardless of whether this is actually really my daughter on here or not, or somebody impersonating her, because she's probably got Stockholm Syndrome, and I'm sure that they probably brainwashed the shit out of her. But you can see here, trying to justify genocide, committing HIPAA law in this video, sharing false, accessing adoption files, mixing them up, and then applying them to me and my other supposed relatives. And of course, Dawn works for an MAS nursing out of Londonderry, New Hampshire, when she's living in Pennsylvania. And of course, if they advocate that over all of the children, supposedly, let's say we are related, although I haven't seen any evidence that they are even really my siblings. I know Corey O'Neill is, definitely, but the other ones, it's questionable. I haven't seen any papers. Not one paper. All right, Scott Boylan, no paper proving it. And Dawn and Sophia Vera, no papers proving it. I've asked them for papers. How come I don't have any papers? Shouldn't be hard to get, right? I mean, they should be able to find the original birth certificate even prior to the adoption because they can open that up. No evidence. So while I may know the first name of a sibling or what their first name was prior to being taken away, doesn't mean that it's them. I mean, because there's plenty of people named Sophia. There's probably people named Dawn. And it doesn't mean that they have the same last name. For all I know, they could be somebody pretending to be them. Yep. That's right. It's injustice for all, for only them. Not for somebody like you and me. And when it gets to that point in the United States, there's something very, very wrong. Because we're supposed to have a constitution that's for the people completely. And I have other papers up on Script that also linked to just the ridiculous harassment that went on. I had real estate agents chasing me around with a knife. That's probably the management that was involved, maybe with Thomas's property. I think Vicky Ryle, Tracy Ryle worked for Keller Williams. So I wouldn't be surprised if she arranged that with the VA again with my dad. Of course, that was my birth father. And, yeah. Let's see if we can find any apartments on here. Yeah, so, oh, and by the way, due to the mess that went on, also, I'm not allowed to ask for witness protection either. I'm denied that. They just decided to just, murder me instead, or try to murder me. And of course, if I don't get medical and treatment in time for something that I have, it is murder if they contributed to it. And they're telling the hospitals to not treat me in this state. And that's Trump doing that, among other people. I don't know if I can get the script file today or not. I must have taken that down too. I don't know. Yep, that's right. Mr. Clark probably got paid for everything. One-sided. But I'm going to appeal so that there's a record. A record of everything that they done while I'm still alive.